So I'm on my way home from Bethel. Just left. They did curfew, came in, and they asked everybody to leave. And of course, one group of people were like, "Yeah, we'll leave right now because you asked us to." And the other ones are, there's like 6 SWAT bus things that roll by, and they're gonna make everybody leave. Not a lot of people today. It's definitely a lot smaller than what you've seen on the news. There was very low turnout on honestly both sides, but I wanted to come out. I wanted to see what everything's going on. I wanted a better understanding of what people are thinking and saying. My sign went over really well. It was actually able to give me a lot of conversations with a lot of individuals on both sides because I wrote it so well and didn't go after or do anything that was unprofessional or unethical. I wrote a sign that was accurate and used positive statistics, and I wanted to go over things and talk with people, and it worked. Never been flipped off so much in my life, actually. So, which is interesting because I've been to a John Kerry rally. Lots of grown adults just flipping you off randomly without having any context to anything. Just drive by and flip off an entire group of individuals, which is something. A couple water bottles got thrown. Nothing crazy. No pushing, no shoving. Everybody was fine. Shout out to Bethel cops and the sheriffs and Hammersville and Loveland and all the different precincts and highway patrol that responded. They did a good job. They were keeping people pretty much contained. Honestly, they were so heavy in presence that no one was going to do anything crazy, which is good, obviously, because of the threats that was going on social media. But, it is what it is. My mind obviously didn't get changed on the events and what's going on, and I'm sure people there, their minds didn't change on the events and what's going on. Sweaty, because it's freaking hot in the sun. But, your voice is supposed to be heard. I'm totally pro-protesting. And a lot of you probably don't know this, but ever since I was a kid, my mom and I used to go to rallies. I've probably been to like 20 protest rallies just in my life. It's the first time in a long time, at least since I've been with Liz and married, that I wanted to do one. And this is one I feel very passionate about because obviously there's been police in our family, and we know enough that we've interacted with enough. I've had enough interaction with police officers that I've formed my opinion on the police as a whole. A lot of people you possibly know about my story with my motorcycle and my piss poor judgment got me in a situation with some police officers, and they handled it magically, but I didn't agree with how one person handled it. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that put them in that position to do what they had to do and facilitate their job, so I can't hold it against them. I don't. And I think a lot of people need to get to that point in life where there are bad apples, and there are a ton of bad police officers out there. I mean, when you talk about the numbers of officers across our country, there's going to be some very bad people, unfortunately. I know people at my job, my old job, I interact with people on a regular basis. I go to a bar, and out of the people that are there, there's a large number of people I don't like because of how they talk and interact. And, there's bad people. We need to address that as individual people. We don't need to address the entire police force as a whole. What we need to have is a conversation and look at our police union. There are persons that are protected by that union that don't need to be. And honestly, we need to have that discussion. Yes, if there is a bad police officer and we have evidence to support it, we need to go after them. If there's a bad business because of their hiring practices and how they treat individuals and employees, prospective employees, or the general public, we need to go after them. That's what we do. That's how you fix problems. But saying that the entire police force is an issue, and what we've seen, across the country as far as the demonstrations and the protests, which is fine. What I have an issue with, and it's the reason I wanted to come out today, is I wanted to be a positive image for those around me, because I've done enough of this before. I've done enough activism that I know when not to overstep and not when to say things inappropriately. And I wanted to be that person that was on the news that they were talking to that set a positive example for my particular viewpoint. But what I don't support is the individuals who are going out to these places and doing damage to business and properties and putting persons at risk. Whether you're pro what's going on or against it, you need to understand that when you interact in a presentation or a protest or something like this, the way that you handle yourself is ultimately how the media and outside individuals are going to see it. So I had an interaction with an employee at work who had seen the Bethel protests, and there was an individual who had done something wrong, and the individual was wrong. The individual should have been dealt with, and I understand the police not doing it because there's only 5 at the time. They didn't have the police presence they had tonight. But at the same time, that individual did something wrong and made their side look bad. that's what we're seeing. And unfortunately, it's going to happen because, again, there's bad people out there that are going to do really dumb things, and we need to address those individually. Or on the same time, you're also seeing on the other side that there's cities that are getting attacked. There's fires. The one that broke my heart was the fire chief talking about trying to respond to a structure fire with a child in it, and they couldn't get to it because not only were their engines being blocked by what was going on, the engines became under siege. They started hitting them with rocks and bricks, and one of the firefighters got smacked in the face with a brick, and I use that as an example all the time. But when you see that stuff on the news and on the internet, the other side only sees that. They only see the damage you've done. They've only see the damage that persons in your group done. And understand that BLM and these protesters as a whole are great people. If you interact with enough people, you know the majority of people aren't terrible individuals. Unfortunately, the individuals in their group that aren't good are going to do enough damage that it just completely undermines what they're doing and their image and their end goal. So the reason I came out is I wanted to be the opposite of that. I wanted to be positive image for our side. It doesn't always get the good image. I didn't want people thinking we're a bunch of anarchists who just, not even anarchists because that's what we're seeing on the opposite side, but I didn't want them to think we're a bunch of hill dunks that don't know right from wrong and we just follow the police order to the law. No, it's not what it is. It's about right and wrong. We want to understand, and I want you to understand that I get your side. I understand that, yeah, you've been treated piss poor. You've had a shitty stick at life, and I get it. I was raised in a single, my mom raised my brothers and I when our dad was a complete piece of shit, and luckily she found my stepdad, the guy I actually call my dad, Jimmy, and has completely changed our lives. But we grew up dirt poor. Out of the three brothers, none of us graduated. My brothers used to share clothes when they were going to high school. I get it. But at the end of the day, we all have rough shakes of life. We need to work together, whether it's coming up with organizations to help train individuals with jobs so they can actually get themselves out of what they're in. We need to do that. We need to have a bigger talk about it. We need to talk about the statistics and why the statistics are the way they are. Unfortunately, to say that everybody is racist is not helping the end goal of fixing it. Why are people racist? Why are they seeing it? And I try to tell my mom this, and she doesn't necessarily understand how I think. There are two types of racists in this world. There are ones who are obviously taught from mom, dad to son, daughter. Your parents think a certain way, so you pick it up intellectually through dealing with them, talking with them. Just like your friend says a funny word and you eventually say the same word because you both are around each other enough. Ryan, right. But there's a difference to this. There's also where you pick it up throughout your life. So we pick up how we handle things and the way we interact in the world and how we see and touch and feel also forms an opinion. So when I was young, I remember it to this day, 2001 in April when the riots were going crazy. Interesting fact, I met Nate Livingston during a rally, a John Kerry rally. I got to meet him, which was kind of nifty. If you do some research on him and the Cincinnati riots, you understand a little bit back of his history and why that was cool. I got to protest with him, which was neat. Anyways, so I got to see how that went down and how they were treated and what went down, and I'm seeing it again. Unfortunately, this comes up often. And there's certain individuals who are going to see the one side. They're only going to see the fires. They're going to see the looting. They won't take the time to understand the other side. It's wrong. It is. But we have to understand that as an unfortunate part of society. They're only going to see that. Just like my buddy saw the anti-protesters, and the only thing that he saw was an individual doing something wrong and it not being treated. That has tainted his entire image of what the counter-protest is all about. So, just, I guess at the end of the day, just think about how you handle interactions with people. Think about the things you post on Facebook. Think about the image that you give for your side. If you are voting a certain way and you're looking to influence others to vote in that similar way, sure, you can use facts and you can use numbers to back you up. But at the end of the day, a lot of people look and see, and they base a lot of it off of what they see. If they think you are a good person or a good individual, you do great things. This same friend that I'm referring to is probably one of the most environmentally friendly persons I know on the planet. If I ever had a question about something, I'm gonna ask him, because everything he does, he gives off that presence, and he does what he thinks is right, and it is. And then, when he sees somebody on my side doing something really dumb, it hurts me, because it hurts the image I'm trying to instill in somebody else. So just think about that, guys. Don't look at the riots and the protests and the looting and what you see. Just try to understand that that's like 10% of that population. Same thing on my side. When you see the crazy people doing burnouts with their American rebel flags or whatever, I don't fly one myself. I don't understand the rebel flag at all, but just understand that they're not the entire group, and we need to come together and have a bigger conversation about what's wrong with both sides, because both sides suck, honestly. You guys see me post a lot of stuff on Facebook, kind of in the middle. I'm about as libertarian as it gets. I think both sides are completely irrational and irrelevant anymore. This two-party system drives me absolutely insane. I've got two other friends who I probably would have actually supported Bernie, but they were massive Bernie supporters, and I'm not voting for Biden. Biden's a piece of crap, blah, blah, blah. Biden becomes the leader, and of course they're going to vote for him because they would rather have him than Trump, and I hate that mindset. There's another person out there, Jo Jorgensen, who's libertarian. She's probably who I'm going to end up voting for, just because her views on everything except for environmentalism impact me and my life and how I think and how I feel, right down to the ATF. And she's actually the only candidate out of the three who actively wants to demilitarize our police force. So them running around those cats in those APCs, she wants to do away with that. She's actually the only candidate who's come out and actually said something about it. So the issue that's going on right now, Jo Jorgensen's the only one's actually talking about it, so which I find interesting. Both Biden and Trump both said they wouldn't defund the police, so and whether you're for that or against it. So it is what it is, guys. I'll let you guys go. I'm almost home anyways. Just stop being so hateful to each other all the time, and try to understand the other person's viewpoint. Actually listen. They may be wrong, you may be wrong, but at the end of the day, you're both wrong. You're both right. You've formed your opinion and your thought process off of your individual interactions, which are not the same as somebody else's individual interactions. You have to kind of overcome that, find similar viewpoints and similar thought processes. If you both believe that the Cowboys suck, which that's a viewpoint that 99% of America has, you can come together and talk about how much the Cowboys, just blow it and they're terrible, and then you kind of start comparing and broaden out from there. Find that common ground, have those conversations. My best friend's dad is the polar opposite of me, and I'm talking like he's actually libertarian too, but he is libertarian, pro-government. I don't even really know if it's libertarian, but completely opposite of me. I have the most intricate, fun, and well thought out political talks with him than anybody else, and it irritates my buddy, because we can literally sit at a bar and talk for hours and neither of us get angry, because we both understand the other side. We listen, rationalize, and go, yep, that makes sense. That doesn't make sense. You don't have any statistics to back that up. We need to get to a point like that, guys. If you can't have a conversation online about politics, about what's going on, without getting angry, you need to think about yourself and why you're so angry and why you can't communicate with that person. If they get angry, you can't control that, but you can control yourself. You can understand them. You can try to get into their shoes and make them think that, not even think, but make them realize you actually give a little bit of care for their cause, and kind of go from there. Side note, the mullet's getting really long, so have a good night, guys. I'm gonna go drink some beer.